Hello and welcome to the Cuppa Cupboard Live. We are back once again. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Matt Gonzalez, and as always, I have some West End performers here with me in the studio and on the phones to just talk about theatre, to have a bit of chat about the shows they've done, what they've found interesting, what they've found difficult, how they get ready for roles, whatever it may be. And also, we've got some songs that we're going to be playing for you guys as well. Now, I've seen that quite a lot of you have already found the live chat. That is there so you guys can put your questions in as well. So anything that we're talking about, if you go, oh, I'd really like to know this or like that, whack it in and we'll do our best to answer all of your questions live here on the Cuppa Cupboard. So you guys have probably seen the promotion stuff and you know that I've got Mr. Cameron Sharp with me here in the studio. So let me bring in Cameron. There he is.
I got my merch ready. I'm advertising.
Yeah, we are too legit here on the Cuppa Cupboard. So I hope you have your hot drink ready with you. So Cam, when this lockdown nonsense hit, like what were you up to?
I was on tour with Beautiful, the Carole King musical, which you know very well.
Yeah, I spent a few years in that one myself.
So I was on tour literally like throughout, well, we would have been on tour all the way up until potentially December, like just gone. So we got cut short.
Yeah, how many months or weeks did you even end up doing?
I think we did 10 or 11 weeks actually on tour. So it was the third, we'd done 3 months basically.
Yeah.
And we obviously had a lot left, which was really sad. And finding out was hard.
Yeah.
Because, we were in Cardiff at the Wales Millennium Centre, which is incredible theatre.
It's such a good venue. It's huge.
It's massive.
It just goes on and on forever.
And if you could choose a venue to end in, like you probably would pick that as one of the ones to be your final show. It was sold out.
The one that I ended in, not as good.
No, where did you finish?
I was in Aberdeen.
Yeah, similar.
Not the same.
And we were. The saddest thing about it, I think, was that we didn't know that it was our last show.
Yeah.
We had literally no warning. Like we had the same warning everyone else did, that we knew this thing existed, but we had no idea what its influence was going to be. And then, we did our Saturday night show as normal.
Not knowing it was going to be your last.
No idea that we wouldn't ever do the show again, which was a really weird feeling.
I mean, I was on tour with On Your Feet at that same time that you were on tour with Beautiful, and knowing how long you've waited for that job, one of the first things that came to my head when they said theatres are closed was like, oh, Cam!
Yeah.
I was so gutted for you. I was like, that's so unfair. He's finally gotten this part that he's been wanting for years, and then it just got cut.
Yeah, I had a long history with that part. So I was playing Barry Mann in the show, which is the same part that Matt played on the previous tour. But Matt also did the show in town before that. But I'd had a long history of auditioning and not getting that part. I auditioned for the original cast while I was on tour with Rock of Ages, which we'll talk about soon, and didn't get it. And then auditioned again the next time around when Matt got it. For the cover, the one in town. I auditioned for that and didn't get it, obviously, and then eventually had my moment.
I think what we've kind of learned from these live streams and talking to Tanya as well last time was perseverance is key in this industry. If you are going to take a no and basically go, right, that's it, I'm done, this is not the industry for you. You really do have to learn how to take it on the chin.
Yeah, and it was the first time as well that I'd really put it out there that I really wanted a part. I think normally we're quite...
you keep it quite close to your chest, don't you? Because you're like, if it doesn't happen, it'll be embarrassing.
So you stay a bit guarded around it. But with this one, when this tour was announced, I was literally like, I want to play that part. Yeah. And I told everyone, I was like, I want to play that part. Please. And then, it works.
It is such a good role, though. Yeah. It is such a good role. So when is it that you actually decided that you wanted to be a performer? Was there like a light bulb moment? Like for Tanya and me, it was seeing a show and going, I want to do that.
Okay.
Did you have any of those kind of moments?
Do you know, mine actually, I think, came about from doing theatre. So I don't remember. So the first show I did was I played Oliver in an amateur production of Oliver for Walsall Operatic Society in the West Midlands, which is where I'm from. And as far as I'd done bits of singing before that, where I'd sung on stage, like in the village and like little, smaller things. And as far as I'm aware, I think it came about because my mum worked in a primary school and they had a letter like saying this local society were looking for kids to join a show. And my mum basically said, oh, you like singing and you sing a lot, and would you be interested in doing that? And I was like, yeah, all right.
You need a hobby, and I need you out of the house so I can clean it without you messing it up as I'm doing it.
Yeah, with hindsight. So I just went along and auditioned, and then I got the part of Oliver, which is obviously great. And then it kind of just went from there. I joined all the amateur societies around and did a lot of shows. I did, most years I'd literally do 4 or 5 or 6 different productions with different societies. And it was, so mine was very much, I did the amateur theatre apprenticeship for like from the age of 8 all the way up. And I always knew from pretty much like 10 or 11 years old that I was like, that's what I thought I wanted to do. And that's what I wanted to aim to do.
So you actually made the decision to go to drama school and train, didn't you? So obviously last time we heard from Tanya where she basically tried her luck and just threw a lot in and turned up at an open call and managed to get it. But you did it the legit way. Yeah. And
I did very much.
So you decided to, which drama school was it that you went to?
I went to Mountain View Academy.
Okay.
Arts.
Yeah. And how did you find going to drama school? Because I sometimes find that the things that I enjoy when I study them formally, I end up enjoying them less. Yeah. So was it really tough? Did you find it difficult? Was it like it is in Fame? Like what? As someone who didn't go to drama school, like give us a kind of day of in. It
was hard. It was long hours. It's not like a normal university. So no, that's unfair because obviously universities differ as well massively. But we did literally. 8 a.m. we were in the building. We had ballet bar at 8:15 in the morning, and then some days you were still there at 6, 7, 8, 9 in the evening. Like they were literally like 12-hour days all the time. It's very full on, which is great because you're doing what you love. But there's a bit of the drama schools differ, and I'm sure they change depending on the staff and whatever. But when I was at Mount View, there was an element of kind of, we have to break you down a bit before their whole thing was like, we break you down, then we build you back up again.
And you're like, please have time to build me back up again.
Yeah, please. Yeah. And maybe spend less time on the breaking down part and more. So it was hard. Like you feel like you're just being like hit with criticism.
Right.
Or at least I did. And I think, it's useful because, like you just said, you do have to have that in this industry. You have to have
I was wondering if to what extent that was like callus forming. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like, well, you're going to need a thick skin when you leave here. Yeah. So we're going to be honest and open with you because this is going to be ultimately, you need to be able to deal with this kind of criticism on a daily basis.
Yeah, I do think that's their thinking. And I think, it's very much like like I say, different schools apparently have different approaches, and some schools or some teachers might want you to be more like you leave feeling like you're king of the world, and then you walk into an audition like, I'm going to get it. But with Mount View, it was very much like, we make you a blank canvas and we're
going to be realistic with you, and we're going to...
Which
it's a bleak world.
It's not nice to be literally sat down. I remember being sat down in a drama school and a year being spoken to, and I can't remember who the teacher was, but basically said, 3%, something like, I don't know where they got these figures from, but something like 5% of you in this room will work professionally, and 3% of you will still be doing it in a year's time, or like 2 years' time when you leave.
I would not be surprised if those figures aren't entirely accurate. Yeah. Because like when you are working in a West End show, you are working within like the top 5% of the industry. Yeah, maybe less than that.
Yeah, maybe even like 1% when you think of the sheer quantity of performers that...
And I don't think people appreciate that, particularly with this pandemic, when you're then getting Rishi going like, oh yeah, you can just retrain in something else. It's like, no, dude, you don't understand. Like, if I was a doctor in the same percentage of their field as I am in my field, you would not be having this we would not be having this conversation. And also, it would be insulting.
And I'd be a millionaire.
Yeah, well, that as well.
In like any other industry. But no, you're right. Yeah, it is very, very weird. It's an industry that has such a, this is a really negative way to start, but has such a big fail rate, if that's the thing. Like it has, because of that, I think, because you have to be willing and able to not work as much as work.
But that's why people find performer stories so interesting, though, because you are people who defied odds by making it and by making a profession out of it. Do you know what I mean? And that's what makes it so motivational and uplifting, is because it's like, no, despite the no's, despite the kickbacks, despite the bad odds, like you've managed to make it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've got quite an interesting little question I want to throw in here from
on.
Arlene, which says, if you weren't in theatre, what other career would you have chosen?
That is so interesting. That's a good question.
Since you wanted to know from such a young age.
Yeah. Okay, so at the time, I think another really unstable career. There was a point in my life where I played a lot of cricket, and I played to a very good standard.
Right.
And there was a very slim moment where I had like trials for counties, which it's a similar standard to sort of playing for a Premier League football club, but as a kid. It's like that kind of... So I had sort of trials for big clubs and things like that, and there was a point where that might have become my focus.
Right, okay.
And then I very much got to a stage where the amount of rehearsals I was doing was clashing with...
And you had to pick one.
And I had to basically pick a hobby,
Yeah.
as it was at the time. So that was one. But then I had a real big interest in psychology, and I think I maybe would have gone down that route. But now that I'm older, I think I would have done law.
Ah, okay. Is that just
sense.
for any particular reason, or
I think I'm quite
like arguing?
Yeah, I enjoy arguing. I enjoy talking. I enjoy
technicalities.
I'm very pedantic. Yeah. No, I just thought. Yeah, I think my personality type would actually really suit it, and I also really enjoy and am invested in politics and things like that, and I think sometimes those things can cross over.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you went to Mount View, and then you had quite a quick turnaround, though, into the West End, coming out of your drama school, though, didn't you? It wasn't like, as they were saying, the 95%, where it's like you will never work. You pretty much lined up a job almost immediately, didn't you? So do you want to just tell us how that came around?
Yeah, I was very lucky, and it was actually a very interesting process, because it was unlike most of the others that I've ever done since. And I think, as a performer, we get used to how auditions work and how the process works. And when I think back to that one, it was quite unique. So I joined the cast of Rock of Ages, which was my first job in the West End, and my first professional job, full stop. And yeah, it was before I'd even graduated. So I'd finished my third year, and then in that summer I got Rock of Ages, so I missed my graduation.
Wow!
Because I was rehearsing, and they actually said to me, "We can give you a day." Like, they were like, "We might be able to change the schedule so you can still go to your graduation." And I was like, "Are you kidding? This is so much cooler! Like, why would I want to not be doing this?"
You're like, "See you, losers!"
Yeah. Why would I want to miss a day of rehearsing for like it was a show and a part that I loved. I think me and my brother had seen it 5 or 6 times in town, which I don't normally do. I just loved it so much as a show.
I've actually got some photos of you in school of Rock of Ages, which I'm going to put out here.
Yeah.
So do you want to just talk us through that one on the right?
Yeah. Okay. So the one on the left is from when I played Drew, who was the character that I was alternate for in the West End, who's the lead role in the show, or one of the lead roles. And then on the right, I then did Rock of Ages on tour. And that is me as Franz, which is the part that I did on tour. And that's actually with the understudy, Regina, Charlotte.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So what happens in that show is that there's a bit where Franz is having an argument with his dad about business and his future. He wants to open a chocolate shop. His dad wants him to be a businessman. And he basically turns around to his dad and says, I'm not doing what you're saying anymore. And that's the point where he rips off his suit and he's wearing a unitard and he sings "Hit Me With Your Best Shot," because that's the kind of logical stuff that happens in musical theatre.
Especially that musical. And just to quickly, I love that part. So I remember the lad who played that part in the West End, because I covered it when I was alternate for Drew, which means I did one show a week, scheduled as that part, and then I also would do more if I needed to as an understudy. But I also covered 4 or 3 other roles, and I only had 3 weeks to learn all of them.
And this was your first job as well?
Yeah. So first job, I was a swing, which is hard as it is.
Yeah.
Rock of Ages as a swing is quite different because you're covering all principal parts. So often in shows, the swing covers the ensemble, and the ensemble covers the parts. Mm-hmm. But in Rock of Ages, you are just covering principals.
Well, it's because it's so vocally demanding that the ensemble who have to dance to a certain level would not be able to cover those parts.
And and
most of the ensembles are girl dancers as well. Yeah.
In terms of men, there's only really one track that you might say is a male ensemble part, but even he is featured. So so I actually I found out it was a weird process, because at 11 o'clock at night, I got an email from my agent saying, just the night before my final audition, saying it's just had its closing notice in 4 months' time, and they're cancelling the auditions. So the night before my final, this happened.
Okay.
So imagine the devastating, like, it's my first job. I've been through the whole process, about to go in and do my final for Drew, the part, and I get an email saying, your audition tomorrow is cancelled. So I was devastated. Then, 3 days later, I find out that Ian, who weirdly is the lad who then played Barry Mann in Beautiful,
so many
the part that me and Matt did.
For a show that ran for such a short amount of time, everybody in my life has done it. It's so funny.
So he was leaving the show to do another show, to do Commitments. So they needed someone to replace him. So then I got called back into audition. So it was like salvaged.
Yes.
And then I did a really, really weird process where it was basically just me auditioning and I didn't know. And because I was the only one that they were seeing by that point. So I did like a whole day with the musical director, sang basically the whole show through. Which
is horrible. If you've ever seen Rock of Ages, it's a marathon. Like vocally, most people would probably last about 15 minutes.
It is a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's horrible.
And I think if I had to do it now, I'd struggle a lot more mentally. Like, I think because I was...
If you had to do it now, you'd be like, no. No.
Move it all down a bit. But no, I was 22.
A hungry 22-year-old.
Yeah, I think you just...
bring it on.
And I think I didn't really have time to rationalize how big that was. I was just like, cool, yeah, go, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm
young, my chords will handle it.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring on the nodules.
Yeah, and I was less aware of my voice and less worried about technique maybe, and I was more just like, let's do it.
Yeah, just give it 100%, live the dream.
But it was such an incredible experience. And like, to start, I think the coolest thing for me, and I say this a lot when I talk about the show, was that I'd watched that exact cast on stage 5 or 6 times in that theatre.
Right.
Then no one else left. So Ian left the show and he
came in,
and I came in, which meant the first time I was on as Drew, I was bowing at the front of this triangle of the cast with the same people that I'd
idolized,
like fanboyed over for a year. And I was like, oh my God, that's Simon Lipkin and that's Julie Jacobs. And I'm literally like at the front of this triangle bowing, like, and it was the weirdest feeling.
You're like, I graduate next week.
Yeah, literally that. It was, it was really quite surreal. And I loved everything about that show.
Amazing. Well, we're going to get your first song.
Oh, let's do it.
So do you want to introduce this song?
I will. So this is my favorite. I'm going to put this out there that I think this is my favorite song in the world. I just love it. This is Tennessee Whiskey by Chris Stapleton, and he is a country rock country rock soul kind of singer from America. And if you haven't listened to his stuff, I recommend it because he is incredible.
His vocal is amazing.
Yeah. So this is Tennessee Whiskey.
Here we go.
Used to spend my nights out in the bar room, liquor was the only love I know. But you rescued me from reaching for the bottom and brought me back from being too far gone. You're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey. You're as sweet as strawberry wine. You're as warm as a glass of brandy. But honey, I stay stoned on your love, well, all the time. I look for love in all the same old places. I found the bottom of the bottle's always dry. But when you gave out your heart, well, I didn't waste it. 'Cause there's nothing like your love to get me high. And you're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey, and you're as sweet as strawberry wine. You're as warm as a glass of brandy. But honey, I stay stoned on your love, well, all the time. Yeah, you're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey, and you're as sweet as strawberry wine. You're as warm as a glass of brandy. But honey, I stay stoned on your love, well, all the time.
Yeah, so we're going to have to do this. Here we go.
Thank you. Oh, it's been
Since we know how much you're probably missing the applause.
I was going
right
to say,
now.
that's been a while since I heard that sound.
Well, I mean, lots of love coming through on the chat here. What we got? We got that vocal run, geez. And I was going to say to you, I think you've probably at the moment got the record for the longest riff on the Cuppa Cupboard so far.
Yes.
Because I mean, I was trying to practice that when I was editing that
Yeah.
video, and it's
It's
such
a
a
beast.
blooming long riff.
I mean, to be fair, that is pretty much his run. I've stolen it. That isn't solely invented by me.
Right, there you go. You got sing, Cameron. Wow, sing,
thanks,
nice.
guys.
He looks far too young. What control? Go country. That's my Uncle John. He loves country music.
Yes.
So there you go. Oh, there you go,
thanks,
Joe.
guys.
I think I like whiskey now. You're converting people.
Do you know, I don't actually drink as well now.
Do you know?
No. So it's quite, I use that song in everything, and I always think that's quite, there's some irony or something
The
in there.
teetotal
Yeah.
person singing about all of the different
All the
alcohols.
drinks, yeah.
Great. Well, so, I mean, Rock of Ages, you left that.
Mm-hmm.
What other shows have you done since then?
Yeah.
What other things have you been involved in?
So I went on tour. I left Rock of Ages in the West End, and then went on tour with Rock of Ages for a year. I think nearly a full year. Then after that, what happened? So I did Usher's The Front of House musical. That was a very random one.
I did find some posters for that, but I
Yeah.
struggled to kind of get one with you in the front to kind of
It
like...
was one of those shows that was so much fun to do. Like, so much fun. It's really well written. It's a silly, like, pastiche show about people who work in theatres and how they want to be on stage.
Well, most of the people who work front of house are actors who
Yeah.
are auditioning.
And it's a very clever parody around that, and it really plays on it. And actually, that was great. And we did that at the Edinburgh Fringe, and to have that experience was awesome. It's something I always wanted to do. And then we did it in London for a bit as well. Then I did, what did I do? I did Avenue Q on tour, which I was off stage swing for that. So I wasn't in the show every night. I just knew all the parts again. That was my thing.
Yeah, we do have a question here from Richard, who was actually the guy playing the guitar at the start as well. So thank you, Richard.
Very good. Lovely playing.
What tips and
Thank you.
tricks do you have for learning all the parts when you're covering multiple roles?
Yeah.
Like, have you got anything that you found yourself doing? Is it just
I
practice, or?
So for me, it's not thinking of it as a really big, like, overwhelming task. I know it sounds like a really unhelpful, but like, I found that if I just focused on one at a time, the muscle memory and the sort of from rehearsing that part in, you'd kind of just know it. And I think a lot of line learning and things are contextual. So like, once you're standing in the right place on the stage, wearing the right costume, holding the right prop, you're taking cues from that to what line is next.
Definitely.
And I think I actually surprisingly didn't find it as hard as I thought it was going to be from the outset. Once I started, with the director with Rock of Ages, we spent like a whole week just on Drew, the main part. And at the end of that week, she was like, right, Drew's done. You know that part now, next. And then I'd spend the daytimes in rehearsals on the next part. And then when I went home at night, I'd read back over the Drew stuff. Yeah. And then by the time we got to the end of the 3 weeks, I was just like, oh, I think
they're all in there.
They're all in there. And once I'm shoved on stage, like it'll just happen.
What's really funny about performing is I find, and I don't know if you find this, that when I think about it, I'm more likely to make mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the main times I've tripped up on stage have been actually because I'm just totally in that Zen muscle memory saying, and then I catch myself and go, I've been on autopilot for the last 5 minutes. Like, I don't know where I am or what I'm saying. And that's when you actually make mistakes. Whereas if you just stay in that and just literally just run it like just in the groove, you do the whole show and you're like, oh yeah, that was, and you didn't have to think about it as you were going.
Yeah, completely. Absolutely. I had one moment as Franz where there was a real like spotlight moment where Regina, the girl, says like, what is your dream, Franz? Tell us. And he has this moment where he like looks up to the audience and it goes and plays really pretty music and there's a spotlight and it's like, I always dreamed that I would own a chocolate factory. Like it's that whole thing. So it's like a real like, if it was a film, it'd be the soft focus
kind of moment.
Yeah. And I had one where we were doing it, the show was going great, and this was maybe 6 months in, I'd done hundreds of shows.
That's always when it hits. Yeah. It's never in the first one.
And then I had that moment where I went, oh, I think I'm on autopilot. Come on, pay attention. This is a big bit. Yeah. Looked at the audience and just went, no, I did. And she went, tell us, Franz. And I was like,
I can't remember.
And then it suddenly all came back and it was horrible. But
the thing is, there is those periods, like they're literally seconds, but to you, it feels like an eternity. It feels like you have literally just sat there on stage like a lemon for the last 15 minutes going, everybody knows that I've just completely had a mind
and no one
fart.
Even notices. Even if you have friends in the audience, they're like, what bit?
I think they just thought that you were just taking your time to say your line.
Yeah.
And that was it. Oh.
Yeah,
so those moments are horrible. Those heart drop kind of moments.
It really is. You get the biggest adrenaline rush. It's like someone's hit you with like an EpiPen. Yeah. You get a moment of just
it's fight or flight. It's fight or flight, literally.
I always remember reading somewhere about someone had done a study of the physiological effect of an opening night on someone's body. So like the chemical, the stress hormones, and all of that are produced. And they likened it in this article to a car crash. So they said that it's a similar level of like adrenaline, cortisol, and all the other things that get produced in that fight or flight moment is like when you're approaching a moment in a car crash and you go and you have everything's released in your body to try and deal with it. Yeah. It's apparently a similar level of stress.
So what does that say about us as people who decide
that we're sadists? Or masochists? Which one?
But you're basically a dopamine high addict.
Yeah, maybe.
I kind of had that here after the last live stream we did. I looked at Tanya, I was like, I feel like I've been on stage.
Yeah.
Like I had that adrenaline hit and I was like, I've not felt that feeling in so long. And then went home and proceeded to stay up for 5 hours because I couldn't.
Yeah, you were like buzzing. Great. I look forward to that.
And it was one of those like moments where it's like, withdrawals, and then it hits and you're like, oh, okay, I need to build up my tolerance.
Yeah. It's been a while, hasn't it, for us all?
So you've got some other credits as well that you got here.
Yeah,
I've got some photos from Beautiful and West Side Story.
Nice.
So there's you as Barry Mann.
That's me with Laura Baldwin.
Cynthia.
Laura Baldwin, who is the best human in the world. I'm just going to throw that out there. That's on record now.
It's always nice when you have castmates you get along with, isn't it?
Yeah, she literally, like, from the moment we started, you just have those people that you meet and you're like, we're going to be best friends.
Yeah.
And we still talk all the time, which is amazing. And nice. Then West Side Story, that was with Jade Davis, who is unbelievable. She is one of the best singers you'll ever hear. Like, honestly, a voice on another level. So, like, both of those were a dream to work with. So after, just rewinding, after Avenue Q, I did Jesus Christ Superstar at Regent's Park.
Oh, yes.
Open air theatre, which was such an amazing experience.
It's such a really cool venue. Like, I love the venue.
Yeah, the venue was like, I feel like it's kind of a bucket list venue for a lot of actors as well.
Definitely.
And I was as soon as that offer came in, I was very much like, because there was a bit of a clash with the tour that I was on, and I was very much like, we have to make this happen.
Yeah.
I just really want to perform that. And that worked out. And then, that show was amazing. And from that, we got to, first of all, I was swing again in that, but I was ensemble swing. So, yeah. So I was like dance swing, which is...
Are you a dancer at
all? No.
I was going to say, most of the parts so far you've listed have been very much singer-actor roles.
In a Drew McConey show. So for people who don't know, Drew is the choreographer who choreographed Jesus Christ Superstar, and he is unbelievable choreographer, and he's very much like, I was going to say the up and coming, but I think that's doing him a disservice because I think he's there. But at that point, he was a bit more of kind of on his way up to becoming like one of the real sort of legends of choreography that's around, and now he very much is there. And so the choreography was contemporary and hard and intricate. And they asked me during rehearsals, they said, "Oh, we saw that you've swung before. Would you do swing?" And I was like, "I can't do this job."
Yeah,
but
you're like, I can swing the disciples.
Yeah, exactly, all the parts. But
yeah.
So it ended up being amazing summer though, and from that we got to perform at the Olivier Awards, which was incredible. And then one of the best things that could ever have happened to me, really, and one of the best stories came out of that, because we were performing at the Oliviers, which are like they're the Tonys for the West End, for the UK, or like I suppose like the Oscars but for theatre, if you want to find it. And we performed Jesus Christ Superstar there, so I was there with those guys. But I was at that point in School of Rock, which we'll talk about soon. And it meant that I got to be there in the audience, and both shows won Oliviers, which was the coolest feeling. Yeah. Because, Jesus Christ Superstar won for Best Revival, and then School of Rock won for, I can't remember, Contribution to Music for the kids playing their instruments. Yeah. But yeah, so I got to be in the audience when the two shows that I was involved in won, which was pretty awesome.
See, that's like a CV kind of like, look
really
all the amazing things I've done, guys.
Like looking down, like sitting where we were, because the second half of the show, we got to go and sit in the audience and watch, because we'd done our performance. And you just looking at, like, it was at the Royal Albert Hall, and you're looking down and like Lin-Manuel Miranda's there, and like Tim Minchin, literally everyone from the theatre world. Yeah. It's this really surreal feeling, just being like, oh my God.
Yeah. So you mentioned School of Rock there. Now, you were original cast of School of Rock in the West End, weren't you? So we kind of talked last time about the difference between original casts and like casts when you take over. How was that experience of kind of putting that show on its legs?
Again, like, it was another huge like bucket list tick for me to do an original cast, because I think, although I suppose Jesus Christ Superstar technically was the original of that version, which has now become kind of a staple version and has been done everywhere. This was like a brand new show. It was very different to the Broadway production as well, because we had a Revolve in London and they didn't, so the whole design was quite different. Right.
Did it open on Broadway first? And
it did.
Oh, so I thought it was West End first.
No, it opened on Broadway first. Same creative team, but although there were obviously similarities in parts of it, they decided to redesign the whole thing. So it meant that it was very much like starting from scratch. Yeah. It was an amazing experience. It was long because of all the children, which I think we might talk about in a bit.
We will talk about that later. Well, I've got some photos here of you in School of Rock. And when I sent this to my dad to lay up, he went, "Is that him?"
That is me. That is me as Theo. So that
the thing is really funny is that, like, when Cam was in School of Rock, I was in Beautiful, and there's a Sainsbury's right outside Holborn Station, and we ran into each other. And there's me. I was a swing at the time, so I wasn't on stage. I'm only on if somebody was off. And so it was a double show day, and I'm like, I'm just going to have a whole day of vegging and watching Netflix. So I had biscuits, I had crisps, I had chocolate, I had Haribo, I had all this just rubbish in my basket. And I look over at Cam's, and he's got like carrot sticks and hummus and like almonds and water and all this stuff. And I was like looking, going, you can tell which one of us has to take his shirt off every night, can't you? Because here he is in like eating all the healthy stuff. I mean, just looking at that photo, was that something that the producers asked you to achieve, or was that something that you just went like, are you always a bit of a health nut anyway?
Yeah, I was always. I think if anything, that was something that helped get me the job rather than the other way around. It's not a requirement of the job, but I think it was something that they liked in my version of that character.
Well, I think your opening song is something like "I'm too hot for you" or something,
correct.
isn't it? So
it's very much, and I did something so like douchebaggy that I would never ever do if I wasn't auditioning for that character. When I was in the audition for it,
did you take your top off?
I didn't take it off, but there's a line. There's a line where he says like, we broke up for a reason. Like he's singing about, he's a horrible character. Yeah. And he's singing about how like he's too good looking to be with her. And there's a line that says, "Face it, babe, the answer's clear to see," or plain to see. Can't remember. I can't remember the words. And so at that moment, I just thought, I've got to like play up to this guy because I've got to show that.
Mate, go big or go home.
Yeah, and I think I do know from feedback from auditions that I come across very young and I come across very kind of like friendly and nice, like nice boy. And I thought I need to show that there can be like that arrogant side to me for this part. Yeah. So I was giving it the whole rock vocal thing, and then I just lifted my shirt up and stood there for ages with my top up. And luckily, I could tell in the moment it was a good choice because they all like died, like especially like there was a whole like proper like no on the panel. So
it's quite funny though, because there are auditions where I've heard that people have said like, oh, if you go for that, take your top off. Like they're like, if you go to Mamma Mia for an audition, take your top off. If you've got it, take it off, because they will give you the job just purely because you are ripped.
It's a shame, isn't it? In one way, like it's a shame that that's a part of our industry in many levels. But for that part, I think it can work without that completely, but I think for my version of that character, it added an extra layer of almost of comedy because it just looked a bit stupid. Like,
I mean, I think this comment's just hilarious because this is my mum.
Oh, go on. Yes. Proof that photo isn't.
And then my brother.
Amazing. Your mum just providing evidence that photo isn't photoshopped. Thanks.
No, exactly. Well, that was my dad's question, actually. Yeah, like, is that six-pack photoshopped?
Now, to be fair, in that picture, there's a very helpful downlight, which you can all see. But no, I just... in Jesus Christ Superstar, I had to take my shirt off as well. And that was kind of what started...
It's obviously just your thing now.
Yeah. And in West Side Story. In everything. Beautiful was the first show I remember.
You got to keep the kit on.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was really...
Seeing as you've mentioned West Side Story, do you want to introduce your next song for us? Yeah,
so I did West Side Story for the... it was a really cool job because it was very different. I did it for the Estonian National Opera. Estonia, which is in the very northern tip of Europe. So I literally got to perform in their opera house. It was an unbelievable experience. The show was being done in English and Estonian, but I only had to do it in English, thankfully, and because Estonian is a very difficult language. And we performed in like rep with an Estonian speaking cast, and it was just amazing. And legit theatre, which is what we call kind of classical musical theatre, that has that more old theatre sound, traditional, slightly more operatic sound to it. That was something that I loved, and all through Mount View, that was what I think everyone thought I was going to do. That was like my thing. And then weirdly, I graduated, went into Rock of Ages, and then went rock show. So this was an amazing chance for me to sing like that again. And that was one reason I wanted to do it tonight, when we recorded these, because I just wanted to show that that's a side of my voice that I don't use as much as I'd like to. So this is Something's Coming from West Side Story.
Could be, who knows? There's something due any day. I will know right away, soon as it shows. It may come cannonballing down through the sky, gleam in its eye, bright as a rose. Who knows? It's only just out of reach, down the block on a beach, under a tree. I got a feeling there's a miracle due, gonna come true, coming to me. Could it be? Yes, it could. Something's coming, something good, if I can wait. Something's coming, I don't know what it is, but it is gonna be great. With a click, with a shock, phone will jingle, door will knock, open the latch. Something's coming, don't know when, but it's soon. Catch the moon, one-handed catch. Around the corner, or whistling down the river. Come on, deliver to me. Will it be? Yes, it will. Maybe just by holding still, it'll be there. Come on, something, come on in. Don't be shy, meet a guy, pull up a chair. The air is humming, and something great is coming. Who knows? It's only just out of reach, down the block on a beach, maybe tonight.
Hey.
Yay!
Thank you.
So that was Something's Coming from West Side Story. Now, we're going to go back to talking about School of Rock for a minute.
Yeah.
But we've actually got another guest who's going to be joining us. Now, this is someone who I met in Beautiful. He was someone who was in it from the original cast before I joined. And then he left me to go and join Cam in School of Rock. And it is, of course, the one and only Gary Trainor. Gary, you there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah, Gary, there you are. Good to see you, man. How are you?
Really good, really good.
It's
Yeah,
so
I
great.
was enjoying Cam's songs there.
I was very happy actually that Cam picked a legit one, because we've had a lot of modern musical theatre stuff on this, and so it was kind of nice being brought back to like the tradition of, you know, musical theatre and kind of where it more started. But you were Donnie in Beautiful on the West End, as well as then going in as alternate Dewey into being Dewey in School of Rock on the West End as well, weren't you? So I've got a little photo of you in action here. So there you go. This is Gary as...
There's a slight difference there between the two, isn't there?
Yes, there is a little bit of a difference. Now, there's actually quite a nice story about that book, isn't there, Gary?
Yes,
in
I believe
terms
so.
of that, because you did you buy that when you first got the part?
No, I was
you give
gifted
me?
it in I was given it in rehearsals.
Was that by?
So it was by I can't remember who it was. There was a lot of books as research in the thing, so I think they were bought for the cast. And I sort of took that one, and it became a part of my dressing room, really. And I think it has been passed down then, hasn't it?
No, it has.
Right?
The tradition...
Because that's what I think. I don't know where the story. You must know more of the story than I
Yeah,
do.
well, no, I mean, I know that it got passed on by you to Joe, and you left a very nice message in it, and then Joe left the message for Adam, who took over on tour, and then I'm not sure if Adam's passed it on.
I think it did.
Did it get passed on
I think it went to
again?
Ollie, yeah.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
And they've all added their little bit to it as well. It's almost like the president's book. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of
I
like
feel-
passing on the mantle to the next person.
The OG sends his love.
Yeah.
So obviously, for those of you who haven't seen these two shows, Donnie Kirshner is the guy who is the guy with the golden ear. He's the guy who worked at 1650 Broadway, who is basically like, love that song and it's going to go to this person and it will go to number one. And
You could compare him to the Simon Cowell of his day,
Yes.
I suppose.
Yes.
I mean, that would be the closest familiarity, really. And he was fantastic at what he did. He was actually, which is quite. I actually look quite like him if you put us face to face, but he was 6'4".
Well, yeah, is he on the cover of that photo?
I'm 5 foot.
He is, there you go.
That's him there. Yeah. My wife actually did it, which was my girlfriend back then, but she did for a press night. She superimposed my face onto that picture of the book.
And no one noticed.
I think I gave everyone a picture of it for opening night, so as their little sort of opening night good luck card. But yeah, he was fantastic, and he discovered all these different people, and it was that sort of, I suppose, commercialized pop machine, really. Like this is the first version of that. Yeah, he was a go-getter, and he discovered so many amazing people. Carole King being one of them, Barry Mann, Jerry Goffin, Cynthia Weil.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun playing the character, because I think he kind of ran that building, and you get to come in and be the boss.
Yes.
Although the wonderful thing is, I went in all the time, and every scene I walk into, I'm like, give me a song, and then they sing, and I just stand and watch them sing. So as the character, I just stood and watched. I think I watched something like 14 songs every night.
Oh, wow. I just stood there and had to kind of...
I just kept going to I was like, Donnie needs a song. I think Donnie should have a song here now. No.
Well, no, because that's obviously why I wanted to put these two roles together, because you've literally gone from a role which is very much a kind of straight acting, minimal singing. He had a couple of lines in some of the group songs where there's the four of them singing, but very minimal singing, to Dewey, who is just high B's, rock screaming all the way. And also just in terms of the energy levels, because as you said before, Donnie's the boss, and he's short on time, so he does have a momentum to him and a speed to him, but it's a businessman's momentum and speed, not a wacky cartoon character Jack Black kind of speed. So how did you how was moving from that extreme to the other?
I don't know. I think maybe Dewey Finn is kind of closer to my own natural. My own natural energy and rhythm, really. I suppose that sort of Jack Black-esque vibe. I remember when School of Rock, the movie, first came out. I was pretending to be Jack Black in the playground, and Tenacious D, the band he had as well. Just loved all that sort of stuff. So when I was in Beautiful and I heard that School of Rock had opened on Broadway, and I was like, that is my part. I need that part when it comes. And it was something similar to what Cam said, that it was the first time that I was like, that is what I'm going out to get. And I remember I sat down with my agents the next time I met them, which was very shortly afterwards, and I was like, I need to get School of Rock. How do we get that? How do we get seen? How do we get in that door? Because a lot of the problem with our industry, as you well know, is like, how do I just get in the door? Yeah. Like whether or not you think you're good enough for it, whether or not they think you are, you'll never know unless you can get in front of them.
Yeah.
And, it's not like the X Factor. You can't, their open auditions don't really happen here in the UK as much as they do in New York. I think because of unions and things, that they have to have a certain amount of open auditions. So you don't even have that opportunity to be discovered in that way. So we constantly, I was like, how do I do this? And then I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to write to them. So I wrote to Andrew Lloyd Webber, and I wrote to Julian Fellows, and I was like, I never thought that they would ever get them or receive them, because it was sent via their companies, because I don't exactly have Andrew Lloyd Webber's address.
Just turn up at his door and go, please cast me.
Yeah, and I don't know for sure if it helped or not, or did anything, but once I actually got the gig as the alternate, and on the first day of rehearsals, Julian Fellows emailed me saying having read your letter and stuff, I'm glad it all worked out for you. So there must have been some sort of word put in or whatever.
Yeah. Because I think one of the worries of any actor is that you get pigeonholed, and you always kind of go like, if everyone's seen me play this, they don't necessarily know I can play that. Yeah. Did you have any of that going from Donnie to Dewey? Did you have any of that?
Well, yeah, I think Lawrence Connor, who directed School of Rock, had come to see Beautiful like a week before casting started going out, and I think Ian McIntosh, who you just spoke about earlier on, had got an audition, and I was so jealous. I was like, how have you got an audition? They obviously don't think, and I think my agents pushed towards the casting director, and they were like, no, we don't see it. And I'm like, yeah, well, you don't see it because I'm playing something completely different.
And a tie, and
Just let me get in the door. And I remember the actual audition itself, it was up in Rugg's offices, just off of in Covent Garden there, and I played Pinball Wizard, by The Who, and I'd brought my own acoustic guitar in, and I just sort of like took this rock stance, and I played it live, and I just went for it. And I think that sort of like that maybe hopefully, and I think I had at the time like really coiffed hair for Donnie, but like I just like went for the whole rock and roll.
It's that whole kind of no guts, no glory, just gotta like just go for the avenue with that role. You can't hold anything back because Jack Black doesn't hold anything back in that movie. It's not subtle. It's not.
Well, the wonderful thing Jack Black had was that 4 or 5 months of filming that. We do that same energy in 2 hours, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You know, so it's like it is hard.
Yeah. My favourite bit of the show when I went and saw it, because I saw you and Cam in it actually, was when you had to do a big spit take into one of the teachers' faces. Yeah. Which now with COVID just seems like it would be assault now. Do you know what I mean? Like you just wouldn't be able to do it.
I know. You know, forget about that show. But everything I watch and anyone coughs or anything, I'm like, oh
yeah.
But yeah, definitely. So you do like the sort of spit. All the teachers are sat on the sofa and you spit over them. And the thing is, you felt so sorry for your fellow actors, so you tried to like maybe like make it less drenchy. But then like we got told no, drench them because that's the comedy, and it's like okay.
Because I was just saying to Cam, I was like, I felt bad for you having to do that every night. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like you must have felt. At what point during the contract did you like stop apologizing for it? Because you're like, no, they get it now, like that.
Oh, to be honest, I got over it quite quickly. Like,
oh, did you?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not going to live with the guilt of that. Yeah, you know.
Like, well, they're forcing me to do it, so yeah, close your eyes.
Yeah. Well, there was an earlier spit take that had to be taken out because originally, I don't know. I'm sure Cam will remember this one where he steals a granola bar off of one of the children. Yeah. And originally the granola bar gets spit back out at the child. I think they decided against that one after
the parents complained probably.
Yeah. I was like, no, let's maybe just do it on the spit out on the table. Yeah.
Right, okay. So obviously you've just mentioned the kids. There are a lot of kids in School of Rock. It's kind of the main show is obviously based around the classroom and these kids playing the instruments as well. Like Andrew Lloyd Webber was really adamant that no, these kids have to play live. To the point where if you saw the show, you'll see the musicians in the pit intentionally stand up and put their hands almost on the barrier so you can see like we are not touching the instrument.
Doing anything.
Yeah, this is like jazz handing in the corner.
Yeah. Well, no, the amount of talent I saw, like I think I must have seen the guts of about 120 different young performers.
Wow.
Play the different pieces, and 4 of them play music live on stage, and the rest of them play different other bits. But like the rock band, the core rock band, and oh my god, the talent that some of these children have and still have, and I think. I've been to gigs of these kids now. Yeah. They're now like young adults. They're now like 17. I've been to see them in gigs. So of their own.
Like, I remember you when you were down.
I was like, yeah. I was like, I taught them all they know.
Well, I was going to save this question.
I will want some royalties, please.
Yes. It's like I was gonna bring this question in later, but I might bring it in now because I was asking Cam about this. Was it quite intimidating working with 9-year-olds who are so talented? Like when you look at them, like they're not even just triple threats, quadruple threats because they play and they dance and they sing and they act. Like,
how did they won an Olivier? It's not intimidating. It's just downright jealousy. It's like, oh my god.
Do you know the first time we saw them, this would have been like a bit different for Gary's experience of them because the kids and the Deweys started rehearsals earlier than the rest of us, and we joined. I don't know how long it was, 2 or 3 weeks later, and
but I think we saw the kids at the same time. So I think what you're about to talk was the first time we saw the kids.
Oh, was it?
Because like before I think we did a week of. Or maybe not, but I think we had seen it a sneak preview and we were watching you watch them.
I just know that from our experience, we came in and did like the meet and greet day and said hello to everyone and whatever, and then they went, okay, yeah, we're just going to go through into this other room, and the kids were set up with their instruments. We hadn't met, we didn't like know what was happening, and they just basically did a gig
Went
for
straight
us.
into the song.
Like
Brilliant.
they I can't even remember what they played now. They didn't just play. They played School of Rock, but I think didn't they play like? I remember them messing around playing bits of Sweet Child of Mine and like.
Oh yeah, they played lots of different things. I
And,
think
like,
it was a bit of
an
schools
ACD
out for the summer and things
Yeah.
like that.
And then they just basically did a gig for us
Just
in this
showed off.
rehearsal room, and we were like, these children, like the one girl, Lois, who played the bassist, Katie, and the bass guitar was as big as her.
Yeah.
Like she was tiny, and you've got all these kids who I was just blown away by them. They were really like incredible.
I remember seeing
would-
that and Matilda and going, I am so glad I will never have to cast against you. Do you know what I mean? I'm so glad that we will never be in the same bracket and be up for the same
Yeah.
job, because there is no way I'm going to be getting it.
It was wonderful here in the West End because obviously with child working laws and things like that, we had 3 groups of children so that they leapfrogged each other. But in America, like I was lucky to do the American tour as well as Dewey, and they only have 1 group of kids, and so those kids did
Wow.
all 8 shows in like week in week out. And to be honest, as the Deweys, we weren't able to do the 8 shows because it just ruined our voices.
Yeah.
So just the stamina and the absolute talent of these kids is huge.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Did they have swings as well for the?
Yeah,
like, how did that work?
there were understudies, so there was 4 understudies, 2 girls and 2 boys, and they covered all the parts.
So did they have
And
to?
there were
did they
what,
have to-
9?
Yeah, and did they have to play
between
multiple?
9, 10, 11.
Did they have to play
Insane.
multiple instruments? Did they have to play like?
Oh yeah.
That's insane.
So drums, yeah. So the not only that, the understudies were multiple
That's
instrumentalists.
incredible. So it's like, I'm just going to play the lead guitarist today, and then I'm on
Yeah.
for the drummer. Oh, like what?
But I got to get my maths homework done first.
Yeah.
Like,
Bit
what?
keys.
That's mind blowing.
It's so upsetting. So we obviously in the UK 3 casts. So was it the case of 1, 2, 3 each day, each show was a rotation of each cast, or is it a double show day with the same team stay and do both shows, or?
No, you wouldn't. Each show would be a different cast, so I think they would just leapfrog one another. I think they would maybe have a run of a couple of shows. So if it was a Friday, Saturday, they would do the Friday, and then the Saturday, and then one of the other ones would do one of the matinees, and then it would sort of leapfrog itself like that. I think.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that.
How
Yeah.
did that affect the rehearsal kind of period then? Were you being brought into a lot more rehearsals with the bands, or was it the case that the MD would rehearse the band and you'd just come in as normal, or?
Well, we with regards to a lot of the kids stuff was stuff with Dewey, so a lot of the time we would rehearse with the kids without the rest of the ensemble and the rest of the cast, and but we would have to do it. One group of kids get up, the next group of kids get up, and at the start I was the alternate, so it was David Finn was the lead, so he took most of it, and he was up doing 75% of it up there, and then I got up when you were exhausted after that, because not only you're basically rehearsing this thing 3 times, for these kids to bed into it and things like that.
I was going to say the technical rehearsals. We had, I think, 3 weeks was it in the theatre to do all of the technical rehearsals, getting all the lighting and the sound, and, the whole thing on stage, and that was.
It was a logistical minefield, really, wasn't it?
Because you're having to take the show 3 times. Like I feel like I didn't fully appreciate that until we were there. That the children would have to learn and stage a whole song, and then that would be finished, and Gary'd been up there doing this song 20 times with that group, and then they'd be like, okay, cool, now you guys sit down and we're going to do it with the other group. And then they had
the harder bit as well is that, after a while you think, I'll start marking this to save myself. But then they're like, no, the kids need the energy because we need to see them at full pelt so that we know how fast they will be for moving objects. I mean, our stage management team were amazing. Yeah. Like the precision that they do, and the job that the people behind the scenes do is incredible as well. But they, we just had to drill and drill and drill it.
Yeah. You know? I think you should probably just explain what a tech run is, just for people at home who might not know what that is. So when you do a theatre show, obviously there is a lot of stuff like flying in or or sliders moving across the stage, and as well as obviously your extra stuff like lighting and sound and props and other things like that. But obviously a lot of the stuff that moves can be very dangerous if you don't know it's coming. There's been things where people have been hit by things flying in, or a piece of automation just mowed someone out the way. So what we do is we have to do a tech run where we go through the show slowly, and you explain the scene, and you go, right, at the end of this scene, that's going to go that way, that's going to go that way, you go this way, watch out for that, don't move until that. And then you do that a couple of times so that everybody's safe and the stage management know that you're not going to get clotheslined or decapitated by something in the dark.
Yeah.
Because then it's like blackout, and everyone turns the lights out, and you have to do it all in the dark.
Yeah,
The amount
of
things that are happening at once in those situations.
scene change,
Like
yeah.
you've got the deputy stage manager, like, is sitting there, Maura Glavery, who's amazing, would have been sitting watching the screens, and like she has to see everything. You know, if there's a kid in the wrong place that something might hit or whatever, there's, you know, she can stop the show. It's like a massive machine, and like you can think of the stage as like a machine that you're running about in, and the cogs are turning, and if you're in the wrong place, you're going to get squished.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Well, someone has said, or
you won't, because Maura
gets
got
hit by anything.
Has anyone been hit? Oh, definitely. There was one. There was one in the tech rehearsals that I remember really vividly, which was at one point we had this really intricate scene change that was meant to happen, where the adults came on with pushing like furniture to move, and it was moving from the kids' world into the adults' world. So it was like the children had just finished a song called Time to Play, and the adults were like, I think it was that one. The adults were bringing in furniture, spinning it around, and initially they wanted the children to interact with the things we were bringing on. So there was this idea that the one kid would run and like jump over the sofa and do like a kind of leapfrog on it while it's moving, and then run off stage, right? And that was, bear in mind, as this is happening, there's sliders coming in like this, and there's a door coming down. Okay,
yeah.
So we had about 3 attempts at it, and we got through a few kids who had they
Bring
were
out
all
the
fine.
next child.
No one was hurt. No one was
It's like
actually
the Hunger
injured.
Games. Send in the next one.
But then the one that ended it was when someone very, very nearly, I don't think he did hit it, but very nearly ran into the door that was coming down. And then they went, yeah, we need to change this.
Yeah.
So then that got scrapped. But
I mean, I think this is probably a good time to maybe bring in any stories regarding School of Rock or Beautiful, since you two have been in School of Rock and Beautiful, I've been in Beautiful, where something has gone wrong in that sense, or like there's been something technically. I mean, I've been run over by sofas in Beautiful, or been stuck behind doors not opening as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that have happened, and you don't know what to do. I was, if you remember, in the bar scene of School of Rock, the flyer comes in when I was on tour in America. The flyer missed its mark and crashed into the bar, which actually was very, very serious, and they had to be stopped, and we all walked off stage, and there was quite a lot of scared people and all the rest. But you know, things can go wrong, and if they do go wrong, they can have really bad consequences. So why technical rehearsals and things are so important. But one of my funnier ones is when I played Donnie, going back to Beautiful. When we were doing our technical rehearsals for it, my costumes weren't ready yet. I was having all these bespoke suits made from the period. I mean, it was so amazing. I loved the costumes, but one of my costumes in particular was vintage from the time, and they were tailoring it to me, and I finally got it on. It was a beautiful pinstripe suit from the 1950s, and we were mucking about in the wing, as we want to do,
as professionals do not do.
There's a certain dance move that the girls were all doing and everyone was doing, which is where you sort of drop down and seductively roll back up again. There's if you know the one, and I decided to give it a go, and
oh no.
Was this just before you were going to go on for like a scene or something as well?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I mean, it was in a trip on me about 5 times. Have you ever had?
But these are like 1950s. It was like there's nothing. There was no material to replace it. Like, you know, it was.
Yeah, they couldn't buy a new suit, or
yeah, it was like well, they managed to sew in a panel, shall we say?
I feel like I have to say this only because I literally have, from when I was Franz in Rock of Ages, the exact same thing, doing the same dance move as that in the wings, and I ripped my trousers. So we clearly need to stop.
Yeah, do you know what?
Stop attempting that.
I think at Beautiful, it might have been after this instance, we actually had a poster up on the wall.
Yes, it was because of that.
Yeah, it was because of that. It literally said, if you are in costume, no eating, no drinking, no slut dropping, no boogieing, no this. Literally, it was like 30 lines of like all the things you're not allowed to do if you are wearing your costume.
Yeah.
I have one from School of Rock, the same scene change, but that happened in a show. So me and a lad called Johnny Bourne had to run on with a sofa. Okay, so this is a really boring start to the story, but it gets there. So basically, the kids sang a song that was called "Time to Play," and it ended with this big "Time to Play," big long note, dun, boom, a little bit of applause, let's go, dun, dun, and then we'd all come on with the set. Right, that was the scene change. So we'd been doing it. The first original cast, always great, perfect, like. The timing was just really in there, and all the girls who played Summer did it exactly the same as each other. Then we get cast change with the kids, so we get a new girl on, and she was incredible, but she got to that point and went, "Time to play," and then obviously thought, I'm gonna milk this for a bit. So she was milking her applause. I was in my own little world on autopilot, forgetting that it was a brand new child and that I should really be paying attention. So me and Johnny went, go, ran on stage with a sofa. But the kids hadn't left the scene yet, so we
mowed
just
them all down.
We just ran into a space on stage, and then, like a child who thinks that they go invisible, we just froze because we were like, I don't know what. So you've just got two adults in a random scene that they are not dressed, like we didn't fit in that scene at all, holding a sofa like.
Oh wait, so the blackout hadn't been called.
Oh,
yet.
there was no blackout. We were just in full light.
Okay, right. Okay,
we were in
I'm with you
full
now.
light in the scene like this.
Yeah.
And
Too keen.
Too keen. So and then the music went and we ran on.
I mean, I've done that before.
Everyone found that hilarious, but what made it even better is all of the creative team and Andrew Lloyd Webber were in the audience.
Oh.
And Joanne, the choreographer, who's incredible, she came and found us and was like wetting herself laughing. And she was like, that's one of the funniest things I've ever seen, but please don't do it again. We were like, we won't.
They always say that. They're always like, please don't do it. Like you're like, I really enjoyed making an idiot of myself and I'm going to do that tomorrow. Like, why? I don't understand why they always feel like they have to asterisk that. I'm like, don't do it again. Like
when you drop a line and then someone will say like, oh, you messed up that line. You're like, I'm well aware that.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't intentional.
But, yeah.
Oh dear. Well, we thank you very much, Gary, for coming in and talking to us. We're going to be introducing the next song. I mean, you're going to stick around. We'll come back to you again at the end as well. So the next song that we're going to be singing is actually the one time that me and Cam have worked together.
Yeah.
Normally, when me and Cameron see each other, it's because we are crossing each other in the audition room.
Yeah, a lot.
I think the last time I saw you before Beautiful and all the rest of it was I was coming out of the audition room as you were going in.
Yeah.
It was like, right, good luck, mate. See you at the next one. Bye.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
But this was actually one job where we both got to work on it. And it's from one of the new West End shows that's just opened. And it's actually Dear Evan Hansen. Now, me and Cam are clearly too old to play 14-year-old, but well, actually, maybe you could probably pass for a
close,
stage 14.
but I still think not
with
quite.
This beard, not really. I definitely have to shave it and kind of get some wrinkle cream. But we were involved in this show, but in a backstage kind of capacity. So I've got a little photo here of us in the recording studio. Basically, for those of you who haven't seen Dear Evan Hansen, it's very kind of there's a lot of it which is about social media. And so for one of the songs where Evan is putting a speech out online, you see the online reactions to his speech, which are spoken, and then those voices then join in with the singing of the last chorus and the bridge. And Cam was one of the voices that did the speaking, which was like, repost, like.
Repost, and like, what was it? Evan's bedroom door is on the left. I can't remember. There was loads of really random things like that. Stuff.
So he was involved in that, and then we were both involved in singing a song called You Will Be Found. And those of you who are eagle-eyed and know your theatre people, I don't know how I ended up in the middle of this photo.
Yeah,
it's just hilarious. That. I don't know how this wasn't even me taking the photo. It was Dylan. So I don't know how I ended up in the middle. But if you look to my right, or no, not my right, if you look to the right of me, you'll see Justin Paul, the blonde guy. He is the guy that wrote La La Land and Greatest Showman and Dogfight and Dear Evan Hansen. So he writes with this guy called Benj Pasek, and the two of them are a writing duo who have written all of these like Oscar-winning songs. It's just insane. And then on the other side, we have Alex Lacamoire, who is the musical supervisor of Dear Evan Hansen and also the musical supervisor of In the Heights and Hamilton. So you can imagine that me and Cam standing there in this recording studio. I think you were in the booth next to me as well. It was just the two of us, like with like, you know, nine of us in total. And you got Alex Lacamoire standing opposite and Justin Paul in the studio listening, and us just bricking it, going, they can solo my mic and hear exactly what rubbish I am putting down in this tape.
It was amazing to work with those people though. Like Alex Lacamoire, I mean, he literally, Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote Hamilton and In the Heights, like he credits Alex Lacamoire as like, he makes the songs sound how they sound. He does all the orchestration and all the like, he turns them into what we hear from this incredible seed from Lin-Manuel's brain. And like, I mean, what an absolute legend.
I mean, also just the how pedantic, but like in a good way, or how like analytical he is. Like the first entrance for the choir is us just going, oh, and he was like, right, okay, everyone, let's just try that. Okay, oh, no, I don't want it like that. If we can do that, and he was like, oh my God, we're going to be here all day.
Yeah, the detail,
like we got so many notes singing two notes.
Also, so, I feel like we should mention in that photo as well, on the very right of the picture, is another Dewey Finn. Craig Gullivan.
Ah, yes.
Craig Gullivan,
another School of Rock
who
boy.
Took over just after Gary, and there we are. There he is.
It's so incestuous, isn't it? And then you've got like two beautiful boys there on the other
with
Dylan and Nolly as well. Yeah. So this is a duet from Dear Evan Hansen that me and Cam have recorded. This is a song called Disappear. So enjoy.
No one deserves to be forgotten. No one deserves to fade away.
Even if you've always been that barely in the background kind of guy. And even if you're somebody who can't escape the feeling that the world's passed you by. If you never get around to doing some remarkable thing,
that doesn't mean that you're not worth remembering.
Think of the people who need to know.
They need to know.
So you need to show them. No one deserves to be forgotten. No one deserves to fade away. No one should flicker out or have any doubt that it matters that they are here.
No one deserves
to disappear, disappear.
When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around,
all you want is for somebody to find you. You're falling in a forest and then you hit the ground. All you need is for somebody to find you.
No one deserves to be forgotten.
No one deserves to fade away.
No one should flicker out
or have any doubt that it matters that they are here.
No one deserves
to disappear, disappear. No one deserves to be forgotten. No one deserves to fade away.
Yeah. So get part of the applause there as well. That was me and Cam living our imaginary Dear Evan Hansen life. It's one of those shows where when it came out, I was like, why couldn't this have come out 10 years ago when I had an actual chance of being able to be in it? But hey, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, isn't it? So there was actually something else that was slightly peculiar, shall we say, about Cam's time at School of Rock. And that was that Cameron wasn't the only sharp in the cast. Were you, Cameron?
No, I wasn't.
He actually had, I think it was the second year, was it, they joined?
Yeah, so the second year, I got a phone call. I'll give you the setup before, and then so I knew that he was auditioning. And then I got a phone call from my brother, and I answered the phone, and his exact words were, "You all right, mate? How you doing?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I was like, "How are you?" And he was like, "Yeah, you might need to clear a space for me in the dressing room."
That's a great way of announcing it.
And I was like, "What?" And yeah, my brother was in the show with me in London, which was insane. And we were literally in a dressing room.
We've got Jake with us here, and we can bring him in. Hey, Jake. Hi, DNA.
How's it going?
I mean, no prizes with that kind of Jack Black hairstyle as to what part you covered in it.
It's ridiculous. It's like, I don't know why I haven't just changed it. The whole time I was in it, I moaned about my hair, and I've left it exactly the same. I blame the pandemic, but when we were allowed to get haircuts, I just didn't get haircuts.
Yeah. That's always the way, though, isn't it? Like, you complain the whole time you're in a show because they make you cut, particularly if you're a guy. Girls are normally okay because they get given wigs, whereas guys, it's like you have to have your hair cut exactly how we want it cut. And you do sit there going, I hate my hair, I hate my hair. And then you don't do anything different with it when you leave anyway. No. It always ends up looking...
Or get it cut to how I wanted it, and then was like, oh, God, I look well, crap. I look great doing things there.
So I've actually got a photo of, well, one of them's of you guys in School of Rock together. The other one's just because I found it on Cam's Facebook and I thought it was hilarious. So this kind of sums up, I'd say, the Sharp Brothers relationship. I mean, that costume on the left is just amazing. Like, the commitment levels there. Was that a School of Rock Halloween or something?
No, that was years ago. Like years and years ago. Yeah, I think that's one of our proudest ever achievements.
I think what I enjoy the most is the fact that the Boy Scout has a moustache.
Yeah.
As well. That definitely.
Yeah.
That adds.
Yeah.
To
you can't see on that picture, but we actually had tennis balls on the end of the walking stick as well.
Their attention to detail was absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
Also, what's ridiculous about that is that was a last-minute decision. That was like.
Yeah.
Oh, that was that thrown together.
Yeah, like as in we were like, oh, if only we could go as the two from Up, and then an hour later we looked like that. It was, it's the best costume I've ever worn.
Yeah, and it says a lot about our household and how many random, like my mom and dad are both very creative as well, and like how many random things we have in our house that we were able to throw that outfit together without going shopping. We were just like, what can we dress as?
So was that like an old Boy Scout costume? Or
I don't even know.
Scout?
It was just
It
was all adapted.
You never know. You just never know. Own every costume.
Yeah, you got a wardrobe, like a walk-in wardrobe, just in case.
And the picture of me as him as Dewey and me as Theo was, I think, the very, very first time that he ever went on.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah. That's why he's clean shaven, because so that was very different to how he ended up looking as Dewey, because he had to. Yeah, in that he was also had to be ready for his ensemble part as well. If you know.
I mean, so that blonde wig is terrifying, Cam, as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was just... It was an unbelievable wig, but at that point, I think it was on its last legs.
As they normally are. Now, contrary to the Jake, you are actually the eldest, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
I had it the other way because Cam played the older character in that picture. I assumed that he was the older one.
No, I'm 4 years older, but I'm about 4 years behind in terms of everything else, career-wise, everything. So I feel like in real terms, I just, for some reason, 8 years have gone by without me doing anything. So I'm like looking up to Cam, being like, oh, I'll follow Cam's footsteps, and then I remember that
you're the older one.
So Jake came to theatre way later, so much later. It was really interesting.
Did you go to drama school as well then, or did you?
Yeah, I did. I went to East 15 acting school.
Yeah.
Which is not musical theatre at all. And I didn't do any musicals or anything until I was about 24, 25. Literally nothing at all. And then went and did,
which is amazing.
Trained to be to do like straight acting, I suppose, mainly because I thought I can't do musical theatre because it's too difficult, which is legitimately the reason why I didn't do like 100%. I just didn't go and do it. But yeah, so I went and did that. But we graduated at the same time. No, you graduated a year before me. It was close.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just it was interesting because it was like you say, because you are 4 years older, but then we kind of switched just because I knew from such a young age that I wanted to do this.
Right.
I ended up working professionally and like starting that whole sort of journey and whatever as Jake was coming into it. So then we'd kind of switched round by that point, which is interesting. And then he went just to really annoy me within like 1 year of working when I'd like slaved away. He was like, "Oh, I'm in the West End and now I'm alternate for this for the lead, one of the biggest parts in the whole of the West End."
It's easy, guys. Don't
What I did enjoy was the little bit in the program under Cam's thing, because you obviously, it's done in alphabetical order. It was Cam Sharp, then Jake Sharp, and then Cam adding like, "I would like to point out that I got this job first."
Yeah.
Before my brother. I did really enjoy that little like asterisk in the program.
So annoying.
There's so many layers of that.
That's literally the only time that Cam's out-funnied me.
I think that's true. I think that is true, and I was so happy because there were so many layers to that I sent it off and thought, there's no way. So when you write something to go in the program, it gets sent to be proofread.
They're gonna chuck that out.
I wrote it and then I thought no, and I deleted it. Then I wrote it again, then I deleted it, and then I thought, do you know what? I'll just send it, and there's no way they'll keep it in the program. But at least I've tried, and it's funny.
Yeah.
And then what I loved about it is that Jake, for once, had gone for something really like nice and sincere. So his was really like, he's really excited to be working with his brother,
mum and dad, and
and then mine was just like a little like meh. But we're normally the opposite in personality.
I was here first.
Yeah, in personality, I'd say we're normally Jake. He's very much the Joker. So like, I was really happy that that got through.
I was livid.
So how was it joining a cast when one of your brothers is already in it? Because obviously school would have been the opposite. You would have been at school first. Cam would have joined and been the person like, oh, my brother's already here. He's already got his friends. He's already got his feet on the table. And then School of Rock would have been a reversal of roles there. Yeah. So how was it feeling like the younger sibling in that sense, Jake? Like being the second one through the door?
It was very weird. It was amazing. Like obviously, it was like the best thing ever. Like, and it was my first West End gig, so it was, it got every emotion attached to it anyway. But it was unbelievable. It basically gives you that security blanket, I suppose, that that you're just, there's always going to be someone there that is going to at least pretend to like you or pretend to think that you're doing a good job. Like,
or be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or be like, don't talk. You're making a fool of yourself, whatever. But. It was just unbelievable. I was thinking about it earlier, and I was like, I don't think I fully appreciated it at the time. I think maybe because it was overwhelming. There was everything. It was West End. I was covering a lead, this part that I wanted to do so much. And was in a dressing room with my brother. Like it kind of therefore filtered it all down a little bit. I think if it was one of those, if it had happened 10 years later into your career, then you might have been able to focus on that more, because I look back and I'm like, I wish that I'd been more, I wish that I'd been more present and made more, memories, clear memories. Because there's a couple, there's the first time that I went on as Dewey and just get into the bows and you turn around and then you're you're the most proud person in the whole world and the adrenaline is just through you to another level, and then you turn around and then your baby brother's just 2 meters away from you on stage, not even socially distanced, just and bawling his eyes out, and even the start of that show, you're nervous about going on for this part, and you're absolutely terrified of remembering all the lines, or just messing up, or just not being as good as you think you are, or all of those things, but that at beginners, you can give your brother a hug and then walk around to the other side of the stage. So you're not by yourself. So it was amazing. It was a real kind of comfort blanket, and I think it actually benefited me more than I realise now, that it allowed me to be safer, and to kind of, rather than it being overwhelming. Yeah, it was brilliant.
And I fully the first time that he went on for that part was the most nervous I've ever been on stage, which is ridiculous.
For someone else,
and not because I had any doubt that he'd be amazing at it. And I'd seen him do it in dress rehearsals. It wasn't like I hadn't experienced it. I knew that it was going to be awesome, but like, I remember the choreographer, weirdly actually, which was cool for Jake. The Broadway choreographer was in that night. I can't even remember why, but she was in watching that show by chance, and Jake had to go on. And I remember her coming up to me, and at one point she started giving me a note, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I just went, "Yeah, Joanne, I'm just to warn you, like, don't note my show tonight."
I'm a nervous wreck.
Like, I'm not thinking about anything I'm doing tonight. So she was like, "Okay, fine." And I watched the whole show from the wings, like through a little thing like this, like.
Wardrobe brought your costumes to the wings, didn't they? So you could change in the wings and everything.
Literally, like bringing me things so I could, because I didn't want to miss like a second of it.
Can I just say, I kind of feel bad right now because my whole reason for getting you two on was because I wanted to make this into a rivalry, and watching the fact that you two are like really, really like cute and supportive of each other is kind of making me feel like a bit of a jerk, because I'm like, they're going to get them to like dob each other in and say all this kind of
stuff. It's only because we haven't seen each other since March properly, that's why.
Yeah, we haven't seen each other for a year.
Okay. All right.
In about 30 seconds we'll be like, "Oh, hey,
yeah." Well, I've got a little game that we can play here. I was hoping to kind of build a transition, but I don't think I'm going to. So I'm going to just press a random sound effect to start the game. So we'll see. There you go. And so this is Sharp versus Sharp.
Okay.
There we go. What the original plan was to kind of cut a video with, like, you know, not the sharpest tool in the shed, like in there. But I thought YouTube's just going to pick that up and cut the feed because of the algorithm.
Nice.
So I thought it'd be safer to not do that. So Cam, you've actually got some papers there on the table next to you.
I actually genuinely have no idea what this is.
Yeah, and one of them should say him and one of them should say me.
Correct.
There you go. And Jake is all set up at his end. I did send in the PDF, but he's come up with something a lot more creative.
Oh, of course he has.
I think he's wanting to pretend he's in Strictly, I think. And he's going to give his little points on the paddle instead.
I'm going to keep forgetting which one's which.
So I've just got a few questions, and we're going to see how much you guys agree, actually.
We won't.
So
I'm just going to hold this up for the whole thing.
I don't think that's how you win this.
Okay.
So the first question is, who was the coolest at school, since we're at School of Rock? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I was a nerd.
Who's the better? Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Who was the better footballer?
Ooh.
I mean, you just said that you almost went, oh, there you go. We're still in agreement. That's good.
It's really tight.
Who's the better cook?
Ooh.
Oh, there you go. Still in agreement.
I think just about.
I'd say it's close, but yeah.
Well, I mean, he's gone veggie now.
Wasabi beans.
Oh, I was going to tell the edamame bean story earlier.
That's the one I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to tell that quickly?
What's the edamame?
Because it'll go along. It's like your Saint basket story.
Oh, okay.
So we were in a dressing room where there was me and another guy called Alex who also covered Dewey. So we look like Dewey Fins, you know, and everyone else in the dressing room just, you know, we just, like, over Christmas, say, everyone had to buy a pack of mince pies per show. So we ate everything apart from Cam. And there was one show where Cam was like, "Guys, I'm starving. I'm actually starving. Like, I need to go and get something to eat." And we were like, yeah, go. Well, it's fine. We'll cover you. And he came back with the smallest tub of edamame beans. Like, it was like this big. It must have been like 6 edamame beans. And bearing in mind, the rest of us had just been out and we had like a Burger King double whatever. And he was like, "Oh, I was starving. I'm glad I've had those 6 edamame." It was just the wrong crowd. It was the wrong crowd.
I mean, that explains the 6-pack, Cam. You're basically starving yourself. Yeah, okay, fine. I don't feel as bad for not having one now.
They didn't let me live that down.
If that's the cost, 6 edamame beans for lunch, then I'd rather not pay it.
They're very tasty.
I know, exactly. Yeah. Not even.
So, I mean, I'm saying this. I know Jake does this, but I don't know. I mean, I know Cam does it. I don't know if you do, Jake. Who's the better driver?
Oh. He's terrible.
I'm not terrible.
Should I go and move my car away from his?
He will have knocked it over already.
It's scratched all the way down the side. Who's the tidiest? I have a feeling I know.
Oh,
okay. I was going to say you, Cam, because
I think it's in different. I think it's in different ways.
Right. Okay.
I think Jake likes a room to look a very certain way.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? More than I do.
Who wanted to be a performer first? Well, I think that's been answered. Yeah. That was you. Who was the attention seeker growing up? Is it little brother syndrome? Have you got another sibling?
We have a older
Sister, yeah.
Older sister. So you are the baby, Cam.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it. It's always the babies. Although to be fair, in out of the three of us, it's my middle brother, and he's watching, so he's probably going to say something smart arsey now. Who's the Casanova?
Oh.
Can you like just go like neither of us? We're both terrible.
Probably me.
I'm not at all. I don't know what you're on about.
Who's the best dancer?
I mean, like,
Well, it depends what dancing.
yeah, technically.
No,
Like,
I
if it's
mean-
like musical theatre dancing, then him, yeah. But if it's at a nightclub, then
Right, okay. If it's down and dirty street rules, then Jake's the winner. Who's the best singer?
Oh.
Oh, really? I thought there would be more arguments about that.
no.
no.
I mean, Dewey's a
100%.
high sing as well. Like, Dewey's not.
It's a high shout.
It's not a slouchy vocal. When I went and saw Gary do it, I was like, "Geez, Gary, like, good luck, mate."
So the thing to qualify that, like, I've sung and trained as a singer my entire life, whereas Jake didn't at all, and then ridiculously managed to just walk in and sing
Right.
Dewey, which is insane because it is like
Yeah, but it's natural
anyone would
ability. That
struggle
still
with that.
counts.
Yeah, completely. But I would say I've put a lot more hours in my life into
Right.
singing.
Okay. So you saying, you were going on like from a technical standpoint.
Yeah, I've just sung a lot more
Okay.
in my entire life than.
Fair
Can
enough.
I just quickly add that Cam's girlfriend has just commented saying, "Cam, the Casanova."
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, Cam can't see the comments. Only you can.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. That didn't. Well, yeah, it didn't work with. So when I met my girlfriend on Avenue Q, I was like openly very into her right from the start of the thing, and used to jokingly just tell everyone and be like, I'm in love with her, to everyone, and she was not interested at all. And it took a solid 6 months of me. I told her that
Wearing
I
it
basically
down.
wore her down by proximity. I just made sure that I was always near her until she got used to it. And we're still there 5 years later. But yeah, so yeah, Casanova didn't
this
work.
one might cause a few arguments. Who are mum and dad most proud of?
Oh,
Nah.
I thought you'd probably
It's not
argue that one. And then
there's not a chance. All I'm gonna say is, who's living with them now?
Yeah, okay. Bad.
who got invited back?
I'll just-
Last one,
Exactly.
a nice sweet one to finish with. Here you go. Who loves their brother more out of the two of you?
I don't know which I was going to do that.
Oh, you
that ready.
softies.
I had that ready. Like, oh, that was fun.
That was great.
No, I mean, it's really, really cool, kind of like just getting to chat to you guys. Because I think apart from like the Strallen sisters, you're the only kind of like siblings I can think of who kind of do this.
Yeah, there's definitely a few
there
knocking
some
around.
others?
But I do think we used to joke about this, and people could definitely correct us. But I wonder how many siblings have done the same show at the same time.
No, that's true.
Because I think like the Strallens will have probably done the same shows as
It's
each
because
other.
they want to be the leads. Though, don't
Yeah, but that's what
you
I
can't
mean,
all
like,
be the leads at the same time.
Who like I don't think they've ever. They
So
might
true.
have, but yeah, we were in the same show at the same time. That is rare.
Yeah,
For
it's
sure.
true. Well, I'm going to bring Gary in.
I feel like we're the new Strallens for sure.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, everybody at home, look out for the Sharpie brothers. I don't know why I added the E on the end.
That's all right.
We're definitely not the new Strallen.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring Gary back in. There we go. Gary, so it's been
I
so
wanna be
great
a
having
Sharp.
all of you on. You want to be a Sharp? Legally change your name?
Gary, we've got
You
something
are.
to tell you,
You are.
mate.
Yeah. Right, it's been such a pleasure having all of you guys on. Thank you so much for your time and for your stories and your laughs. It's been so fun just being able to chat to you guys about the thing that we're all missing currently, unfortunately, due to this horrible pandemic. But I'm sure everyone at home, you will be seeing these three very, very talented performers back on the stage where they belong, hopefully very shortly once these vaccinations are rolled out. So just to quickly finish, since this is a School of Rock themed live stream, I've got one question for you all, and it's kind of school related. So If you were given a PhD but don't know any more about the subject than what you do now and need to form a career, what subject do you choose?
Oh my God.
So which subject do you reckon you could blag to a PhD level?
Irish folk music.
That's because nobody else knows anything about it. You can make it up.
Well,
I was going to say massage. I don't know why that came to me. I just feel like you can blag it. They're not even looking at you.
Oh,
So you
you
could
got a little
Google it.
knot there.
It's going to be you
Yeah,
with like the
exactly.
spoons, like Ross in Friends. Just
yeah,
go,
just like,
Yeah, exactly.
eating
Yeah.
someone.
see, I was going to go
I
more.
don't know why that came to me.
Mine was a similar line, as in that it's something you can blag. I was going to go politics because I feel like you can just
Yes.
talk your way.
No,
you can
that's
just
true.
pretend you know what you're on about at all times.
Oh, please. No one in the government knows.
Yeah, exactly. So that would probably be mine. I reckon I could just stand there and just deflect from questions for hours
Yeah.
on end, like
Fair
this
enough.
one. But yeah,
Fair enough. I'm happy with all those answers. I'm loving the variation. Does anybody on here have any pluggables that they would like to plug while they're here? I don't know if people have like Instagrams or Twitters or anything that they'd like to push out. No.
no.
Currently delivering parcels in the Lewisham area for Hermes. So
For an extra tip, you'll get a song.
coming to a doorstep near you.
If anyone wants to send their children to a primary school in the borough of Southwark, I might be able to get you in. That's where I'm working right now.
Well, I have something which I can kind of plug. This is just something that I put up every live stream. Obviously, there's a lot of hard work that goes into these in terms of recording the songs, getting them like edited, getting them mixed and mastered. I have to get the backing tracks made, otherwise YouTube will pull the feed because you can't use master recordings. So there's a lot of work that kind of goes into this. So if you have enjoyed the stream, there is a little QR code down in the bottom which will take you to a Just Giving page, and it's just an opportunity just to give a little something if you've enjoyed, and it will be spread out and distributed towards everybody who's contributed to today's live stream. This will be up at the end, so if when I take it down now you go, oh no, I missed it, I wasn't quick enough on my phone, that's fine. At the very end it will stay up for a good 5 minutes, so you can kind of put some a donation forward then. As you've just heard from kind of Gary and Cam, you know, a lot of performers are having to do other jobs that they wouldn't normally do. So this is just a nice way of kind of showing your gratitude for, you know, the songs and the stories that they've shared today, and just to help keep them going while we're in this lockdown period of theatres being closed. So that's kind of my big charity drive. That's it. It's been so great having you all with us. Thank you very much again to all of my guests. And just to play us out, I'll be playing the Dear Evan Hansen song one more time for you all. So have a great rest of the week, and we will be talking to you in the next 2 weeks who will be our next guest on the 1st of March, which will be our next live stream. So we will see you there. If you haven't subscribed, do subscribe. If you haven't liked the video, then please do like the video. It tells the algorithm that it's something that's worth watching. So please do all of that. Otherwise, it's a final goodbye. I'm going to shut up and stop talking from all of us here, and we will see you next time. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
See you guys.
No one deserves to be forgotten. No one deserves to fade away.
Even if you've always been that barely in the background kind of guy, and even if you're somebody who can't escape the feeling that the world's passed you by, if you never get around to doing some remarkable thing,
That doesn't mean that you're not worth remembering.
think of the people who need to know.
They need to know.
So you need to
I
show
need to show them.
no one deserves to be forgotten. No one deserves to fade away. No one should flicker out or have any doubt that it matters that they are here.
No one deserves.
No one deserves to disappear. To disappear. disappear.
When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around,
All you want is for somebody to find you. You're falling in a forest and then you hit the ground. All you need is for somebody to find you.
no one deserves to be forgotten.
No one deserves to fade away
No one should flicker out.
or have any doubt that it matters that they are here.
No one deserves.
No one deserves to disappear. To disappear. Disappear. No one deserves to be forgotten. No one deserves to fade away.